All right, 1 2 1 2, and a place to be. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing out there? I am Frank Red. It is that time once again for another edition of In the Dungeon Show. After making a surprise appearance last night, we're doing our regular show tonight, and I'm excited because we got another good show for you planned for the next 60 to 90 minutes. We'll see how it goes. But as I said, my name is Frank Red. If you're listening for the first time, welcome. Give us a chance, and if you like it, stay tuned. If you don't, then you will act accordingly. Hit me up at Big Frank Red on X. Subscribe to the show. The algorithm does work. It does like it when people express themselves in that manner, so it is all good. In the meantime, in between time, we got a lot of topics to cover. We're certainly going to talk about the Golden State Warriors, who are off to a 5-1 start. Right now, they're on an East Coast roadie, and they take on the Washington Wizards tomorrow night, led by former Warrior Jordan. And this is coming off an exhilarating win last night over the Houston Rockets, 127-121. So we're going to get into that as well. But we're going to talk NFL as well. The San Francisco 49ers are off this week. They take on the Tampa Bay Bucks next Sunday. And what is a very, very important game for a lot of different reasons. You want to win your division. That could be a combination of in-division wins and just overall record. So it's an important game. There's a possibility that some of their better players could be coming back, i.e. Jawan Jennings, obviously Christian McCaffrey. Those are difference makers for the 49ers. But because they're off this week, we also have an opportunity to kind of delve into non-on-field topics related to the 49ers that might not be about what takes place on the field. And that piqued my interest because over the weekend, I was listening to a podcast. And I listen to a lot of different shows. Some of them are really good. Some of them are not great. But I listen to a myriad of shows. And the topic came up, was firing Steve Wilkes the right decision? Because the 49ers defense statistically this year is like night and day compared to last year. You know, obviously when you fire someone, you want to pile on the things that you didn't like about that particular employee. You want to highlight all the negatives and sparsely acknowledge the things that might have been good. So when I'm listening to the show, the consensus among the hosts was firing Steve Wilkes was a good idea. And I can do basic math. So I'm looking at last year's defense and this year's defense. And you can go, well, the 49ers had better personnel last year. Okay, that's true. But to go from a top defensive team to literally one of the worst in important statistical categories, I don't know about that. I don't know if you can simply say it was because of the players. I don't necessarily believe that. Sorensen, who has gotten the job, was kind of an inside guy, you know, Kyle Shanahan's friend. And I'm not saying he's not competent. The guy's been coaching a long time. But I don't think you can definitively say that it was a good decision. Now, can you say that it was not a good fit? Yes, you can do that. And I have no problem with that because you're dealing with people every day. You know them. That's all right. I mean, that's fine. But then the conversation started to go in a direction that was uncomfortable for me. All right. The next thing that I heard was Steve Wilks is a bad defensive coordinator. Based on what? He's built his entire career on being a defensive coordinator. He's not a bad defensive coordinator. He's not. And then it was like, well, the guy's an a-hole. All right. I don't know Steve Wilks, so I can't make a definitive judgment about who he is as a person. But I do know that one of the things you want to do as a broadcaster, at least when I came into the business, is you never want to get personal. You never want to get personal with professional athletes, because my rule was this. I might see somebody in the streets, and we have to be able to stand behind our statements. When I go in the locker room, if I say something about somebody, I have to be able to stand in front of that person and defend myself intelligently. Which is why you never hear me get personal with professional athletes. I'm not going to call anybody an a-hole or this or that. No. I'm not going to do that. I don't like to hear it, because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to say it to their face. Mike Tyson was quoted, I don't know when the quote came out, but Mike Tyson said that the internet has made people feel really comfortable being disrespectful. And I mean, to a certain degree, I kind of agree with that. Now, for the most part, the people who I know in this business, they could be delivering your mail, making your donuts, driving the man transit bus. Their goal is to do their jobs, go home to their families, have some integrity, and do something that they love to do. That's their goal. And most of them abide by that. But then you have people in the business who are innately jealous of athletes. And anytime that they have an opportunity to say something shocking, to raise their profile, they take that opportunity. And I don't like that. I can't stand that. And a lot of times what happens is they look for people of the same mindset to collaborate with. So I love it when I hear pushback, when I hear that type of dialogue from people, because it's flat out wrong. It's wrong and it's disrespectful. Now, anybody who works in media, I don't care what your race is, I don't care what your gender is, if you're any good, you work your tail off. You work really, really hard. And through that hard work, you build a reputation, because you're always being watched 24/7. Now, there are people in the industry who are basically shills for organizations. They align themselves with the major teams in a particular market. Why? Because it makes your life easier. That's why. You get more access. You might get invited to things. You get phone calls. You're on the inside when you are building their narrative. I'll give you a perfect example. I was in the Brandon Ayuk should get paid camp. Haven't changed my take one bit. He ultimately got paid every dime that he was supposed to get. There were a lot of people in the media, local media, who thought that he should not get paid. Essentially taking the organization's stance on that. When it came down, when he got the contract that he wanted and he deserved, and because football is a dangerous game, His career might be over. We don't know. So he was the smartest guy in the room to get every dime that he could get because his career could be over. I'm watching Nick Chubb today. Nick Chubb play for the Cleveland Browns. Doesn't look like the same player, does he? That burst, that quick cutting ability that we are used to watching from Nick Chubb, we don't see that right now. We might never see it again. That's why you got to get your money, right? So as I digress, let's go back to the 49ers. When our youth got paid, when I listened to commercial radio, sports talk radio, the first thing I heard was somebody say, we're not going to play that game. Like, what game are you talking about? Well, we're not going to play the who won or who lost game. Or if you were on the internet saying that he should not have gotten paid, it was crickets. You basically let that topic go and moved on to the next topic because it wasn't in line with what management wanted. I'm just saying that, this business is not all what it seems. You're at your best when you do your job and you are respectful. That's it. Let me tell you how the Steve Wilks thing works. If Steve Wilks has a multiple year contract, I don't know what his contract status is, but if Steve Wilks comes out and defends himself, he's blackballed. He'll never work again. Never. If he has a contract, he's still going to get paid. But if you say anything slightly derogatory about the organization, they will hold your money up in litigation forever. You'll never get paid. So you got to kind of stay home on your couch, read quotes about people killing your reputation, and you don't have a right to defend yourself. Let me ask you a question. What media personality have you heard defend Steve Wilks? I'm not talking about Steve Wilks the person. I don't know Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks, the defensive coordinator. Who has defended him? I'll wait, but I'll be waiting a long time because nobody did. Nobody really defended him. Now, there were times in which the 49ers defensive unit didn't play hard. That's indefensible, and that's on the coach. And to his credit, he owned that. Now, maybe he owned that because Kyle Shanahan said, you got to make sure your guys are playing hard. You got to come out and speak to the public, so on and so forth. We don't know. What we do know is he took responsibility for it. And in the Super Bowl, the defense by and large played really hard, particularly the defensive line. Chase Young doesn't get another big contract from New Orleans if he doesn't, to some degree, rebuild his reputation. I'm just saying that this media game is crazy. And if you are in the minority with your takes, you build allegiances with people who are open-minded and they support you, but you don't get on the inside with the majority. And I hate that. I mean, to be jealous of somebody about anything is crazy. It's disrespectful. Fortunately for me, I have a couple of friends in the business that reach out to me, support me to a certain, they support me. But they also know that I'm not about any bullshit. I'm not going to co-opt somebody else's take. I mean, they know that. So I don't get a lot of calls. I don't. And I'm very comfortable with that because to me, it's really about the listeners. It's not about the money. Any money that comes, it's great. But that's not my goal, man. I got to be able to stand in front of people on my own too and speak my piece and be a stand-up guy. You're not a stand-up guy if you're calling somebody an a-hole and he's not standing in front of you or some young. It's bad, man. I don't like that. And, you know, I want to say this. For the few brothers in the business, I've always been like the only black. I was the only black at the major station I was with. And I had crazy relationships with everybody because it wasn't about my ethnicity. I break bread with everybody. But the reality is I was the only one. And if you look at major media, it's hard for minorities, people of color, to have voices. It really is. But you gotta be, particularly like if you're not like a former athlete, you know, because you can get clicks just being a former athlete. That doesn't mean that you're good. You might be good, but you don't necessarily, but you not necessarily are. But to come up from the bottom, that's hard. All praise is due to anybody who's doing their thing. I mean, Guru and I are friends. Guru used to call on the telephone, and to see him ascend to where he is now, salute. And all he does is get better. He's getting better and better. I love it. I don't know Bonte Hill. I don't know him, but I recognize his grind. You know, it's clearly on the inside, but I'm happy for him and happy for anybody else who has found a way to navigate, which is a pretty difficult terrain. It really is. If you're going to walk through the front door, which is the only door that I'm going to walk through. I'm not walking through the back door. So I wanted to speak to that because I know a lot of folks listen to a lot of different shows, and it doesn't take you long to kind of figure out who's trying to be a shock jock, who's trying to say something real exciting, you know, and then who's actually trying to do a reputable job. I'm not saying it'll be entertaining, but when you are disrespectful, I don't like that. I don't like that. All right. My name is Frank Red. I want to thank you for checking the show out tonight. That was wasn't a rant. That was game, y'all. That was some game. That's what that was. You got some opinions about what's taking place in the world of sports, a hip hop take or two, music, entertainment. Feel free to speak your piece in the comments. I got a lot to talk about. Off the rip, that play by Saquon Barkley, that run, that 8 or 9 yard run, one of the best runs by a running back that I've ever seen. I mean, is that dude a crazy athlete or what? Every time I see Saquon Barkley, it hurts me a little bit because I'm a New York Giants fan. How could the Giants let that guy get away? I mean, if that general manager keeps his job, and I'm not in favor of firing anybody. I don't like people to get fired unless they just are abysmal. He might get fired, who knows? But he came from Buffalo with Brian Daboll, who I think is a good coach. But how do you lose Saquon Barkley over what, $2 or $3 million a year? Saquon Barkley, I think he's the best running back in football. You can argue that it's Christian McCaffrey when he's healthy, or Derrick Henry. They're clearly the top 3 running backs in the NFL. And Saquon has made Philly better, notwithstanding the drop that cost them a game. But what a great player. What a great player. So if we want to talk about the NFL, we can talk about any game you want to. I had the clicker and the dial moving today. If you want to not preview the 49ers versus Tampa Bay, but if you want to talk about the 49ers in general, any team in the NFL, it's all good. Now, before I came on, I put out a message on X. If I'm a major advertiser advertising Sunday Night Football on NBC, and I got to pay for the Indy Colts versus the Minnesota Vikings, I want my money back. If that's not a Thursday night matchup on Prime or a Sunday morning special from London on NFL Network, I don't know what it is. That game should not be on Sunday night in front of 20, 30 million people. If you want to put them against the Steelers or somebody else, interesting, the 49ers, okay. Indy and Minnesota on Sunday night? Are you kidding me? It was easy. It was analogous to watching paint dry. That's what it was. Salute to those teams individually, because Minnesota, Green Bay, okay, I got action with that. Minnesota, Indianapolis, god awful. All right, let's go ahead and talk to my man Keys. Keys says, Wilkes was not the problem. Cal's ego was work things out. Look at who we got now in defense. It's below average, especially in the fourth quarter. We've given up the most points in the NFL. Yo, man. I think you're right. I do think you're right. Now, whether it was Cal's ego or his right as a head coach not to deal with strife with his coaching staff, that's okay too. That's all right. But to essentially hire your boy and then bring in somebody to cover him who was abysmal as a head coach, you got to own that. You have to own that. The problem that I don't have a problem with the 49ers changing the defensive coordinator. I don't have a problem with that. That's his right. I have a problem with you bashing the guy and saying that he's terrible, which is why he got fired. And that's not why he got fired. He probably wasn't a great fit. He probably walked around like he was a head coach. Why? Oh, because he's been a head coach. At Arizona, in Charlotte, at Carolina. And he probably was a little sensitive because he got screwed at a couple of places. You think Rex Ryan doesn't walk around like he's a head coach? What? You think Kelly at Ohio State now doesn't feel that he's a head coach? So, Keith, I think you're onto something. If you are a little insensitive, if you can't communicate, then you're going to be a little unnerved around people who feel themselves a little bit. To me, it's about getting the job done. We know Cal's a head coach. If you're going to get rid of Steve Wilkes, you got to go get a juggernaut. Now, he tried. He called Bill Belichick. If I'm Bill Belichick, I'm not working for Cal Shanahan. What? Check my resume. I'm not doing that. But he did make the call. Rams won 3 in a row, and Cardinals looking good. I think those 2 losses to them early, I believe, will keep us from playoffs. They're looking young and exciting. Both teams are well coached. I mean, look at what the Arizona coach has done with Murray. I mean, people are looking at Kyler Murray's contract as an albatross around the owner's neck in Arizona. And all Murray has done is gone out and in 9 games looked like a Pro Bowl quarterback. I think his name is, I can't remember the Arizona coach's name, but he's done a really good job. They look like a totally different team. And McVay is certainly one of the better coaches in the NFL. So he's coaching personnel. He's not coaching names. Half the guys on the Rams, we don't even know. We don't even know who these guys are. I know Kyron Williams, the running back, Puka, obviously the other running back, I can't think of his name now, Stafford. But most of those guys who are making plays, we don't know who these guys are. And it doesn't matter because Sean McVay is he's such a good coach. Saying that, I think if the 49ers can get McCaffrey back and Jennings, I think they'll be fine. I think this year they'll win that division. I just think they're better. You know, with Kittle, with Debo, and emerging Pearsall, Kyle Williams going to get more run. I think the 49ers have more talent. I'm not counting on Greenwald. And I'm not counting on Hufanga either. If those guys come back, it's a bonus. But when I look at Nick Chubb, who's been cleared to play, he doesn't look the same. The last thing I want to see is Greenlaw come out there and not look like the beast that we saw before his injury. I don't believe that if you don't win the Super Bowl, it's a bad year. It might be disappointing, but that doesn't mean it's a bad year to me. So I don't know what your feelings are with regard to that. Some fans expect to win it every year. It doesn't happen that way. Okay, so the Detroit Lions are looking like the best team in the NFL. Any thoughts? They're good. They're really good. Definitely the NFC. The NFL, all things being equal, I think Baltimore's better. But Detroit is really good. If Cincinnati can get in, then they're formidable. Obviously, I haven't even talked about KC. I'm not picking Detroit over KC. I think the AFC got some teams that could give Detroit some action. And I'm biased. I'm not going to mention Pittsburgh, but I'm biased. I mean, I love the Steelers. I love everything about that organization, about how they play, and Tomlin's one of my favorite coaches. So the AFC got some teams that I think are very formidable. But in the NFC, I think Detroit is definitely the best team. Watching NFL today makes me realize QB play is down this year. Expound on that. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Every year there's about, 5 or 6 quarterbacks that really stand out. Let's look at it this year. Burrow is probably having his best year. His team's not as good, but Joe Burrow is looking like Johnny Unitas out there. Lamar Jackson, he's looking like another MVP. That's 2. Josh Allen, balling. I mean, I know Jaden Daniels is a rookie, but he's up right now. And I got a special place for Jalen Hurts. I'm just a big Jalen Hurts fan. and Philly's won 4 straight, and he's not the sole reason why they're playing winning football. But Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback too. He outplayed Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. So, I think when you look at the quarterbacks from a large perspective, there's about 5 to 7 guys who are really balling. And the rest of these guys are trying to find their way or playing decent football. Aaron Rodgers is probably on that next tier. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm not surprised the Jets beat the Texans. And the Jets could go on a roll. They could get on a roll, man. They're exciting to me. They're very talented. I also said something too. I put something out and I said this. I'll see if you agree. If you look at the past 20 years, the running backs 20 years ago are clearly better than the running backs of today, collectively. Now, it's a different game, but we can look at running backs of the past who are like Hall of Famers. I think the running backs were better. The wide receivers in today's NFL are profoundly better. That's the evolution of the game. It's in the wide receivers. The way that these guys catch the ball with one hand now, they would be cut. I mean, as early as 10 years ago, they might get cut from a team if they tried to catch a ball with one hand. Randy Moss was the only guy doing stuff like that. It's like having a glass of water now. All of these wide receivers at all levels, college and high school, they go up and get that thing out of the air. It's beautiful to watch. I love it. So as a defensive back, you can't even hold anymore. Because you're grabbing the left shoulder. The other guy's like this, ready to grab the ball. I love it, man. Low-scoring games and QBs are putting up big numbers, TD passes and yards. I haven't looked at the stats, but I watch the games. That doesn't mean that the quarterbacks are not playing as well. I think there's more of an emphasis on running this year. Yeah, I mean, there's been a resurgence to the running game and playing physical football. That's why teams like Detroit are one of the best teams in the NFL. Goff, at his core, is a play-action quarterback. Guess what? If you're dropping back and throwing the ball 20, 30 yards down the field every time, eventually they're going to put some heat on you. So having the threat of a running game is essential to winning, particularly if you don't have as much talent. And some of these teams, they have injuries, they lose players, they got to control the game. Now, I would say you're right, Keys, in that this year's football looks more like football of maybe 15, 20 years ago. But I like that style of football. I love the physicality of the game. And you still see great wide receivers making great plays. You still see quarterbacks playing at a high level. So I don't have a problem with it. I actually like what I see. This is a big game for Brock Purdy. You have people jumping on his bandwagon and jumping off. I was kind of leaning on the truck. I'm a Purdy guy now. I like what I saw from him this year, even though his numbers are not as good. He probably hasn't played as well. But the area in which he has really grown has been in leadership. And I really appreciate that. I mean, for somebody to come where he came from to where he is now, I've become a Brock Purdy fan. Now, I'm not in the camp that thinks Brock Purdy should be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Not in that camp. I don't think just because you're up next, that means that you should make the most money among your peers. I don't believe that either. Under any circumstance, I don't believe the 49ers would pay Brock Purdy $60 million a year. I don't believe that. I think $50 million is probably where he's going to rest. Not bad. Good for him. $60 million? Can't see that happening. Also want to prop up my guy, Bryce Young. You know, guys, I'm a big Bryce Young guy. And I think that Carolina has done a horrible job coaching him, playing head games with him. And if he wasn't the person that he is, I think he could have went totally south. But he's so mature and he's so accountable, that adds to his brilliance, as far as I'm concerned. And it took Andy Dalton and his family getting into a car accident for him to get back on the field. And oh, by the way, Carolina has won 2 games straight, and Bryce is starting to play better. The game is slowing down for him. He had a pick today that was not his fault. You guys saw that pick when the guy basically took the ball from his teammate. It was a great play. That's not Bryce Young's fault. I want Carolina to trade him. I would love to see, well, I was going to say I would love to see Bryce Young on the Giants, but you know what? I think Daniel Jones in the right situation is pretty good. That dude is a human punching bag, and it is totally undeserved. The Giants are like 2-7. How good would the Giants be if they had Saquon Barkley on the team? At least 500. That's an organizational F-up. That has nothing to do with Daniel Jones. 0. Saquon Barkley to your rival in your division? Over $2 or $3 million? Really? I see everyone doing the one-handed catch. All the athletes are playing wide receiver, gets paid, makes financial sense. Game changers, man. I mean, Jalen Hurts is not the most accurate quarterback. What he does do extremely well is throw the deep ball. I mean, he launches that thing like a missile. You know, kind of like Russell Wilson-esque. I think Russell's probably more accurate with it. But Jalen Hurts can throw the deep ball. And he happens to have 2 top-tier wide receivers in Smith and Brown. This other kid, 83, made a miraculous catch tonight. So they got a pretty good receiving core. And it really speaks to Jalen Hurts' skill set. Because he can throw that thing, man. Have you seen Carlos Boozer's kids? I hear they're the top-rated prospects. Yeah, I saw both of them. The 6'9.5" son is super duper. And his 6'4", 6'5" son, the point guard, he's a little more cerebral. You know, he's not flashy. So I'm going to have to watch him a little more. But I'm excited. Anytime you have a 6'4" point guard with his size and knowledge of the game, he's rated the 19th prospect in the country. His brother, Cameron, is probably rated, I think, number 2. But everybody that I talk to, and I talk to a lot of folks in that space, they love him. So I'm always amazed when professional athletes have kids who become really good. I'm amazed by that because it's so hard to do. You know, it's like fans think that these kids go in the refrigerator and like drink some juice, and all of a sudden, you know, this special juice makes them as good as their parents. It doesn't work that way. So when you see that excellence manifested, it's fun to watch. Sometimes it happens in different sports, like a Trinity Rodman. You know, she has Dennis's DNA, and she's getting it done in a different sport. I love to see that. But yeah, the Boozer kids are going to be really good next year. Now, I got college football, college basketball written down on the list. College basketball starts tomorrow, and I'm really, really excited. I don't think that Cooper Flagg is overhyped at all. I think he is going to be a big hit in college basketball. And I love the college game. I do. So I'm excited. Now, I will tell you this. I'm probably more excited to watch the women play than the guys this year. Or they're definitely on an equal plane. Because I've been following Paige Becker since she was in high school up in Minnesota. And she's had some tough injuries, but I love her game, and I just love what she stands for. You know, she's a real one, and I can't wait to see her play this year in college and on to the WNBA. Juju Watkins is a female Kobe to me. You know, her mentality is just like razor sharp. She's been in the gym countless hours with a guy who I know, Phil Handy from the Bay Area. And her skill set's going to be crazy because I know Phil is training her hard. She has other coaches I'm sure that she works with. And she's next as far as I'm concerned. I mean, so the WNBA and women's college basketball is going to be a big hit. And men's college basketball should be a lot of fun. I had someone say this. I don't know who said this. Maybe you said this, Keith. I'm not quite sure. But somebody said, I think it was you. You said college football is almost boring when Colorado is not playing. Kind of agree with that. You know, because they bring the swag, but they actually got a good team. Got ballers. And they position themselves to actually be in contention for the Big 12 championship. If they keep winning, they got a chance to be 10-2, 9-3 in his second year. That's phenomenal. So, Oregon is clearly, I don't know if they're the best team. I think they're clearly the number one team. They deserve to be number one. There's probably 5 to 7 teams in college football that can win a national championship, and that's a little different than previous years, obviously, because only 4 teams have gotten it in the past. Now you got 12. So, will there be a major upset? I don't think so. I mean, it's probably still about, like I said, 5 to 7 teams, but it's going to be exciting. Was really disappointed yesterday watching Penn State against Ohio State. I didn't really have a rooting interest. I didn't really care who won. But I think Penn State just kind of went out in a whimper. And rightfully so, a lot of Penn State fans are really bringing a lot of heat to James Franklin. Well deserved. And he even, he pretty much said that. Now, James Franklin is one of the best coaches in college football. let's not get crazy. But you know how these fans are. Fire the coach. We shouldn't lose Ohio State for 8 straight years. That's actually right. You're playing Ohio State on your home field. You got to show up. Fortunately, and James Franklin didn't mention it directly, but they're going to be in the playoffs, and they're going to have an opportunity to right this wrong. We'll see if they do, but wasn't the game that I thought that I was going to watch, and that was disappointing to me. All right, so I've talked 45 minutes and haven't really talked any NBA. So we're going to do that as well. I said it last night, I'm going to say it again. That victory that the Warriors got against the Houston Rockets last night could potentially go down as one of the most important wins of the year. Now, if the unthinkable happens, all bets are off. There's no way that the Warriors could lose to Jordan Poole and the Wizards, right? Can that happen? I don't think so. Now, I think that Steve Kerr is probably going to rest Stephen Curry one more game. Even though he could probably play now, I don't think he's playing tomorrow night. Can't see it. They take on Boston on Wednesday night on ESPN before a national audience. They want Stephen Curry on the court on Wednesday. How good are the Warriors if they can't beat the Washington Wizards without Stephen Curry? I mean, come on. Saying that, Washington's playing a little better. But I got the Warriors tomorrow. Don't see Stephen Curry playing. I like what I'm seeing from Jonathan Kuminga. I just wish I could see him consistently for 30-plus minutes a game. I said at the beginning of the year, he would average somewhere between 18 and 20 points a game. Does he make some mistakes? Yes. But I think there's some coaches out there, not named Steve Kerr, that would give him more rope. You know? So I thought the Warriors would be 4-2 or 5-1 at this point. So I'm not totally surprised that they played pretty well, because the schedule of opponents they played hasn't been all that tough. The next 3 games after Washington will be tough. They play Boston, they play Cleveland, and they play OKC. So if the Warriors could go 2-2 over the next 4 games, I think that most fans and prognosticators would consider that to be a major success. So we'll see. What surprised you thus far about the team? Has it been Buddy Hield's play as a Warrior? Has it been Podzinski stepping up in crucial times in a role that we're really not used to him playing? What's excited you this year? For me, because he's closer to the end than the beginning, it's been the play of Draymond Green. Because it's not going to show up in the stat sheet, but everything about Draymond leads to winning. When he's playing good basketball, the Warriors win games. And for him to still be playing at such a high level and creating space for some of these younger guys to come in and do their thing as well, I like that. I also like the fact that Draymond Green has named and stamped some of his transgressions from the past last year, and essentially made a proclamation that says that's not going to happen. This is how I'm going to play this year. And people might go, oh, no, that's BS. I'm not one of these people. I believe it. Doesn't mean he won't get ejected. But I think at some point, maturity has to kick in. Maybe that time is now. I don't know. I was working out this morning at the gym, and I got a thought. And this will never happen, because I think that Draymond, he's talked about his post-playing career. Now, he has a bright future as a broadcaster. I think most people realize that. And there are industries and relationships that he wants to lean on to build a business empire. That could happen also. But if the stars were aligned properly, Draymond Green would be the successor to Tom Izzo at Michigan State. I can't think of any other player more qualified, more perfect to exceed Tom Izzo at his alma mater. I thought about that this morning. It kind of worked for Michigan with Juwan Howard for a while. But I think Draymond would be perfect. Think about it. Michigan State runs one of the most complex offenses in college basketball. UConn runs the most complex offense. The Golden State Warriors run the most complex offense in the NBA. And Draymond is a master of that offense. He's mastered it. And he's rich in the fundamentals as well. But Michigan State is not the Bay Area, is not Hollywood. I don't know what his aspirations are, but I mean, that would have to be something that he wanted to do. You know? So, just a thought. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I would love to see it. College basketball needs more stars. Keith says, but Hio's biggest surprise, and I'm hoping Wiggins will be an all-star this year. That would be a story. Talk about a miraculous change, going from being a guy who was almost untradeable to being an all-star. I don't see that. I would be really surprised if that happened. But I think Wiggins is in a good space right now. I love how he's playing. I love how he's competing. Why, I don't know. I don't want to lean into anything. Obviously, he's gone through some real challenges in his personal life that have been documented, and I hope that he's doing okay. But he's played better basketball, and as a result, the Warriors are better. But the Warriors are small, though, man. I mean, I was thinking about that today. They need somebody big who can play, because they don't really have anything on the interior. They just don't. And over the next couple of games, when they got to go up against the Celtics, Cleveland, OKC, it's tough. Doesn't mean they can't win, but it just makes it really, really difficult. So it'll be interesting to see how they do over the next couple of games. If you didn't know, the Dallas Cowboys are done. I mean, they are done. Nobody's hoping that Dak Prescott gets hurt, but to sit him down, maybe take a look at Trey Lance to see what he can do. I want to see Trey Lance play. I don't want to see Dak Prescott out there with half a team. No running game. I mean, give me a break. I'm going to give you a name in college that the Cowboys might want to take a look at, because he's not going to be a first-round pick, but he might wind up being one of the best running backs, best rookie running backs in the NFL next year. That's Maffa, the running back for Clemson. Dude's a beast. Runs hard, big, strong, a bruiser, and he's probably going to be a third-round pick, but I think that he's first-round worthy. So Dallas has to reload, get some more players, and try it again next year, because they're done right now. Can't see Dak Prescott coming back over the next couple of games. They're not winning that division. Philly or Washington is going to win that division, and I would say it's going to be Philly. I think Philly's a better team than Washington. Ironically, Philly plays Dallas next, so we'll see what's up with that. That's my take on that. I mentioned that I think that the Jets still got a shot. I believe that. They're going to be fun to watch over the next couple of months, as long as they don't have any injuries. I think the Jets are going to start beating people. I saw a movie this weekend also. I want to talk to you about that as well. I saw a movie called The OUTRUN, and the movie stars, her name is Saoirse Ronan. I can't pronounce her name. Saoirse Ronan, her name is. She was a child actor in a spy movie. I can't think of it right now, but the movie is called The OUTRUN. It's pretty good. It's an independent film. It's probably going to be on Apple TV pretty soon. So if you don't make it to the theater, I actually went and saw it at a theater that was not going to show it anymore past this week. But it's called The OUTRUN, and it's basically a story about generational trauma, a familiar theme, and this young lady's journey of overcoming some of her challenges, i.e. alcoholism, finding her way. And it's called The OUTRUN. I mean, she was brilliant in it. Saoirse Ronan, I think her name is. But she's pretty good. Check it out. It's called The OUTRUN. How many of you all out there watch The Bear, the TV show The Bear? I don't have Hulu, so I've never seen it. But I'm getting ready to get Hulu because I just love that actor. The main actor. Love him. Just gut-wrenching talent. So I'm going to get Hulu, and I'm going to go back to season 1 and watch The Bear. But I've been watching clips on YouTube, and the clips are as good as I envision the show being. Really good. I don't know if anybody ever watches it out there, but can't wait to get Hulu. So I'm going to do that. Keith says, Jackson Davis and Looney doing well at center. Can they hold up against Joker, Porzingis, and Anthony Davis? I think they can. The Lakers would be tough in a series because they would feed AD 70-80% of the time. So I think they definitely need help. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I like skinny Looney. I do. I think Looney has maybe bought himself another couple of years in the NBA as well as he's playing. I could have mentioned him as one of the real surprises of the year because Looney is balling right now. He's doing all of the little things. His attitude hasn't changed one bit. He's a perfect player to coach. because no matter what the circumstances are, you know he's going to show up. You know, what a great player to coach. So I like what I've seen from Looney. Jackson Davis, I still can't believe this guy was drafted in the 50s. I mean, talk about being asleep at the wheel. He has a clear role. He's going to have to expand his game over the next 2 years. I don't think he's ready for that yet. But his dive and dunk game is awesome to watch because he's dunking on everybody. Doesn't really have a post game. Free throw shooting is still very suspect. But his defense and shot blocking and ability to finish around the rim, I like that. So I like where the Warriors are doing from a center combination perspective. They have a three-headed monster. You got Draymond, you got Looney, and Jackson Davis. And I think their rookie's going to get a couple of minutes at some point too, because he's so big. He's so tall. So we'll see what's up with that. But that's obviously not how they are constructed to win. They don't want to get dominated at the center position, but they're not really looking to dominate matchups against teams who have big, long interiors. They want to get out and run, play great perimeter basketball, and their one freak is Jonathan Kuminga. And we saw it last night. It was on display. Among a court of freaks, and that's what Houston has. Jonathan Kuminga looked different. He's the best athlete on the floor. And Houston has some athletes. They're going to be tough. I love Shepherd, right? But Emil Udoka was like, dude, I can't play you. Your defense is terrible. And he's going to have to find a way to defend his position. Because he couldn't get on the floor. I mean, whenever he was on the floor, the Warriors went right at Shepherd. And because he didn't play in college long, his lateral movement and his IQ from a defensive perspective is not very high. His game is fluid. I love how he plays. But he's going to have a hard time getting on the floor if he can't play defense, particularly for Emil Udoka. Kuminga seems to have matured. I like what I hear in his interviews. That's good. That's good because this is serious business. Money's on the line. And I know he wanted to get paid. It didn't happen. And like I said last night, the challenge is if he stays with the Warriors, and I would like for him to stay with the Warriors, he's going to get more money than they offered him. I mean, the rumor said that the Warriors offered him $30 million a year, and we'll say 5 years, $150 million. He's going to get 180. You know, he's going to get his 180. Why? Because you're never going to get equal value back for him. It's not going to do it. You know, unless you're getting a top 5 draft pick, like number 5. Teams that have 1, 2, and 3, they're not trading those picks. No way. They're not trading those picks. You could probably get the number 5th pick and a player, a pretty good player for Kuminga. But you're not getting 1, 2, or 3. That's not going to happen. So then you got a rookie in your organization who's talented, probably, very talented, but it's going to take that player some time to come up to speed. While Kuminga is off and running in another organization looking like an all-star. and you have probably one less freak. I mean, there might be a play out there that is not at the top of my mind now that the Warriors might be looking at, but Kuminga is a special athlete and special talent. You got to harness it, put it together, but what a special talent. And he's like 22 years old. Think about this. Michael Jordan played 3 years in college. Not one and done. This dude played 3 years. Kuminga would be a senior in college now. He's what, senior or fourth-year player? Is Cat getting his shot, or is Brunson hogging the ball? And how do the Knicks look so far? I've seen the Knicks look good, and I've seen them look bad. Obviously, opening night against Boston, they didn't look great. But their personnel, I mean, I like the Knicks. And I think it's up to Tom Thibodeau to coach them up. And whatever adjustments he needs to make with regards to shot distribution, that's on him. He needs to get that done. Not in love with Cat being a fluid three-point shooter. I'm just not. I'm old school, and I go back to what Shaq said. You know, if you're 7 foot, I don't have a problem with you shooting outside shots. Rasheed Wallace in today's NBA would be an all-star. He was dead. I mean, he made some all-star teams, I believe, when he played. But Rasheed Wallace in today's NBA would be a beast. Rasheed Wallace was a top 5 defender, had a hook in the post, and he shot threes before big guys were really shooting threes. Rasheed Wallace was incredible. Literally, probably a top 5 player ever to come out of Philly. You know, I mean, he has to be on a short list of great players ever to come out of Philly. Has to be. Number 1 high school player in the country. Nobody's going to eclipse Wilt. Earl Monroe is from Philly. Is Tom Gola from Philly? And I'm going way back before my time. But Rasheed Wallace, what a great player. Some of you all who didn't get a chance to see Rasheed play, man, you're missing something. SG, what's up, brother? I am doing fine, man. How you doing? Hopefully things are going well in your life. Thank you for checking us out. Frank, we should do a Week 5 NFL Pick'em show on my channel where we review games from Week 10 and pick which teams will win. That sounds really exciting. Keys, does Guy Santos have a future with us? No. Every time I see Guy Santos, I think to myself that Juan Toscano Anderson should have that spot. That's what I think. And here's what's interesting. I saw Guy Santos play in the Olympics. He played pretty good. You know, which tells me that he should be playing in Europe somewhere over there, where he can kind of use his athleticism. You know, he's kind of a slasher, driver. The NBA game is more structured. The three-point line is longer. His fundamentals are not great. So no, Guy Santos, I thought it was a curious signing when they signed him. I think they felt that they were going to lose him. I think he had been in the G League so long that, you know, if they didn't sign him, they would lose him. It was something tricky about that move. I'm glad he got his money. I'm glad he had the opportunity to play in the NBA. but he's a long way, in my opinion, from being a consistent NBA player. How do you feel about that, Keith? Yeah, the Warriors got some work to do in terms of restocking their shelves with young players. They do. The Santa Cruz Warriors have a game against the Mexico Capitanes on Sunday, March 9th. Is Juan on that Mexico team still? If he is, then I might go out there and check that out. Big Juan Toscano Anderson fan. Great human being. Should be on the end of an NBA bench. As she says, yes, good. Why isn't he on the NBA bench? Why? I have no idea. But no, I don't think Guy has shown that he's going to be around past this year. One of the things I've noticed, it's kind of interesting, is you know how like ESPN for literally 20 years has monopolized the Saturday morning pregame college shows. Fox's show, what, Big Town at noon, whatever they call it, I'm not quite sure. But Fox is on the come up. Their show is making some ground, and it's pretty darn good. They got a really good Saturday lineup. ESPN is kind of on their heels a little bit. I don't know what they're going to do, but I give Fox credit. I mean, Fox took a lot of what ESPN was doing, promoting college football, and they got a great lineup. And it's interesting. It makes more sense now why Nick Saban's on that show. Nick Saban, I think, is a big deal for that ESPN Saturday morning show. And, there were probably bugs in Nick Saban's ear about what could potentially happen if he retired. I don't know how much money he's making, but he ain't hurting not coaching. So everybody was talking about Nick Saban not wanting to deal with the, quote, new college football, rigors, NIL and all that type of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? If Nick Saban was 50 years old, would he walk away from it? Hell no. No, man's 70. So he's getting a nice bag. Ain't got to get up early anymore. His opinions still matter and resonate as much as they did when he was a coach. And you can't do it forever. You can't. Spending more time with his family. And I love Nick Saban on television. Love him. Honest, direct, and when he breaks down like schemes, he's seen everything. And, for those who wanted to pour dirt on Urban Meyer, who was an it show in Jacksonville, he knows football, man. Urban Meyer knows football, and he's pretty good on TV as well. SG, I'm a big Stephen Curry fan because I have the most of his merchandise. Yeah, okay. I don't buy a lot of merchandise. I don't do that. I'm wearing a hieroglyphic shirt right now. If I could go on Amazon and get a nice Warrior shirt that fit for a reasonable price, then I would do that. But I mean, God bless those fans. God bless you. To go into those team stores. Oh my God. You could pay a mortgage for a t-shirt, a hat, and maybe some little plastic wristband that was made in Istanbul. Not me. I mean, you know, no wonder they rich. And I'm not mad at them. The Warriors have taken care of me. So it's all good. We're going to go for another 4 minutes to 10:30. Any questions that you want to ask me? It's fair game right now. Next couple of minutes we have. I'd love to answer some questions about anything, about sports, about music, whatever you might be thinking about. Just put it out there and I'll answer the question. All right, my man Keys says, I noticed NBA players and coaches having political opinions and encouraging people to vote. Didn't see that in the NFL except Bosa getting fined for his hat stunt. Any thoughts? Yes, I didn't know Bosa had gotten fined. I don't like the fact that he got fined. And I'll tell you why. Because the NFL makes political statements all the time. Now, if you are going to voice your opinion on your political views, you should at least defend your position. Walking around with a hat on, make America great. I mean, I don't have a problem with people voting for Trump. I don't. I don't have a problem with people voting for Kamala Harris. What I have a problem with is you not defending your position. Mr. Bosa, if you want to talk about your political views, fine. What are 3 things that you like about candidate A or candidate B? Know your position. What's her name? Kelly? I can't think of, was it Morgan Kelly? Or I can't think of her name now. But when she goes on a rant why you know, she likes Trump or she doesn't like Kamala Harris, she backs it up with a thesis. So no, I'm disappointed that the NFL fined Bosa. I don't have a problem with athletes getting involved in that process, but I have a problem with them not articulating themselves. That bothers me. You know, because then it's kind of like blind faith. If I come out and I say, oh, I believe in this, shouldn't I have a responsibility to expound on my thoughts? There might be some people out there that actually care about what I say. And just because I said I'm going to do it, then you're going to go do it? That's dangerous to me. Defend your position. You have a right to whatever position you take, but defend it. Otherwise, it sounds very ignorant to me. SG says, I'm going to be voting for Kamala Harris because I agree with her views and what stance she has on this country. Good for you. I was thinking about that. I've been a libertarian for over 20 years. And I might have told the story before, I don't know. But I wasn't very politically active, and I'm still not, but I vote, right? And I'm aware. But Jack Kemp, the former San Francisco 49er quarterback who went into public office, was the Secretary of Housing during the Bush administration. And whenever I would hear this guy talk, I was like, wow, I like that guy. Because he talked about servicing all people and doing what he could to help them. He happened to be a Republican, big deal. So just listening to Jack Kemp made me change my stance to become a libertarian, which gave me the ability to vote for Republicans, vote for Democrats, whatever I wanted to do. Whomever I thought represented views that I shared. From that position, I was able to express myself and make my vote count. So, but yeah, there's a foundation of where I am from a political standpoint, and it started with Jack Kemp. It did. And ironically, when Bill Clinton became president, he kept Jack Kemp in that position. How about that? Key said, I heard it's hip hop month in the Bay Area. Well, wow, with a lot of events going on, thinking about going to any shows and breakdance events. I didn't know that. Keith, I mean, do you follow me on X? Oh, no, you don't deal with that. If you don't follow me, hit me up on at Big Frank Red, and we can kind of talk about it, because I didn't know it was hip hop month in the area. I'll go to some shows. Yeah, there gotta be some stuff that I want to see. I would love to see Pete Rock and Common. I don't know if they're gonna be around, but man, I want to see those guys do that album. That's gonna be good. Thanks for the update. SG says, how many games do you think the Golden State Warriors will have by 46-49? The prognosticators got them winning 43.5. I think they'll win 46-49 games. That's what I think. So. All right, y'all. Going for an hour and 20 minutes. We're going to break down now because I want to make sure everybody has time to get ready for the week. I certainly need to get some things done. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Won't do a show tomorrow night after the Warriors wax Washington. But Wednesday night, I think I might be on Wednesday night after they play the Boston Celtics. They won't be favored, but I'm looking forward to seeing how they do. That game is something that I would deem to be kind of a temperature check. You know, where are we? It's one of those where are we games. Can we compete against the best team in the Eastern Conference? Can I join you on Wednesday night? Sure, just call in. Just put your thoughts out there. You can do it. All right, everybody, do my thing. Success and getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. Hit the like button. Hopefully, when I turn this on, it's going to be great. But hit the like button if you listen to the show. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber of the Dungeon Show. And follow me at Big Frank Red. Everybody be safe. Have a great week. And I'll probably get with you on Wednesday night. Take care, everybody. Peace.